In 2015, a Syrian boy, Alan Kurdi, was found dead, drowned on the Mediterranean beach. This was a family trying to cross to Greece, and the mother and both the children died. And this picture of a little boy of 2 wearing a red shirt and a blue shorts, this image was something that transformed the world, that brought the world's attention. So there are these single pictures of huge calamities, of natural disasters that at one stroke make the world think about it, think, wonder, and question ourselves and our governments. There was the famous picture of the Napalm girl of Vietnam, the child who during the Vietnam War lost all the skin of her body and was seen with outstretched arms running naked. And this picture of this girl would in fact change the course of history. We have the present Palestinian war going on, and the will of a little child called Haya, which was found, this paper which was found in which this little girl had written that my money should be equally given, my pocket money should be equally given to my siblings, my friend, my shoes, which is to be washed and given to the poor people. And this child's, this piece of paper has brought tears to the world's eyes and made us wonder as to why the world cannot be as fair as this little child who feels that she should write a will in which everything is distributed equally. Yet the warring people, the warring adults, do not feel that they can share land and resources. So all these kind of pictures make us realize, this focusing on one single image, make us realize that these people are not statistics, these people are not numbers, but they are in fact human beings. So today we have a poem by Chinua Achebe, The Refugee, Mother and Child. Chinua Achebe is rightly known as the father of African literature, and this is a title that he has so rigorously, he was so determined not to have this title because he felt that all voices were equal and he disliked the title of being the father of African literature, but he is quite rightly considered. He won the Man Booker Prize in 2007. So let's see the poem. No Madonna and Child could touch that picture of a mother's tenderness. For a son she soon would have to forget. The air was heavy with odors. So here we see that the poet is taking us into a refugee camp. And in the refugee camp, he is showing us the destitute, the deprivation, the utter poverty, the horrible situation of the women and children, the hunger, the malnutrition, the starvation that they are going through. But right in the beginning, in the very first line, he brings to our mind, to our sight, the picture of Madonna and Child. And Mother Mary with the infant Jesus is maybe one of the most important pictures in the world history. The moment we see a Madonna with her child, all the beauty of motherhood, the innocence of the infant, all this fills our heart. And the poet, by writing right in the beginning, by bringing Madonna and Child, because there is no image that is greater than the Madonna and Child in its innocence and love and compassion. He is telling us, in fact, that every mother with her baby is Madonna with the infant. And he says that that picture, even that picture, would stand second to the picture that he is now going to describe to us. This is a mother holding her child, a child she would soon have to forget. Why must she forget this child? Why is a mother condemned to forget her child? This tells us that this child will soon be gone back into the earth. This child is soon to be buried. This child will soon die in her arms. And even though a mother can never forget her child, she is doomed to be able to forget her child. Otherwise, this grief is something that she can never hold back. Her only choice would be to forget that child. And the air is heavy with odors. We see that the olfactory imagery is brought because the poet is telling us that the air is full with the smell of something. What is the smell or odor? Of diarrhea of unwashed children with washed out ribs and dried up bottoms, struggling in labored steps behind blown empty bellies. So, there we see that there are so many children in these refugee camps and they have swollen stomachs. Here we see malnutrition, and the poet wants the world to know the situation that is going on in Africa due to these internal conflicts followed by the colonization. There are a great many internal conflicts due to corruption in the government. And what happens to these women and children? They were people who have their own stories. They are individuals with their own houses, but they are driven out of their land, their houses, their possessions, and they are placed in tents, in refugee camps at the mercy of other people. And they are at the mercy of the governments or any ruling party that would deign to give them food. And these children with their blown empty bellies, they stand there and their mothers are helpless. So this deprived condition of the women and children of refugee camps is the major theme of this poem. These children are unwashed. There is no water to bathe them. There is no water to drink. They have diarrhea. They have illnesses because they are living in these contaminated places. Most mothers there had long ceased to care, but not this one. She held a ghost smile between her teeth, and in her eyes the ghost of a mother's pride as she combed the rust colored hair left on his skull. So the poet is giving us a tour or making us walk through these refugee camps. He says most of the mothers have given up. They look resigned to their fate. They have accepted their fate. They know that only death is going to ultimately come to them and their children. But not this one mother. So he has spotted a mother whom our poet has chosen to make the image or the face of this deprivation. And this mother, she did not cease to care. There was a ghost of a smile on her lips. That is, even now, there is a ghost or a very slight hint of pride, of hope, of compassion in this mother, where she believes or she is hoping that some help will come. And even in spite of all the ugliness, the sadness, the humiliation of loss of home and family, she still feels a mother's pride when she holds her infant. There is a ghost of a smile between her teeth, and in her eyes a mother's pride. She cannot help that soft smile, that soft lullaby that is coming up in her throat, where she wishes to sing to her child. This brings to us an image of how it would have been. Imagine this mother in a happy home with her infant in her arms, maybe in a hut or a house which is not so impoverished, where there is food on the stove, where there is a fire, and at the hearth she is sitting with her children and her family. That is what it should have been. Does the world have a right to displace these people from their homes, these innocent civilians? They have no part in the wars or the internal conflicts or the conflicts from one nation to another, from one country to another. They are the innocent victims of such a warfare of greed, of pure human hatred and greed. These wars don't do any good for any human living in these areas. And she is combing the rust colored hair left on his skull. This means that this child is severely malnutrition. Even the hair on his head is turned rust colored, which is indicating severe illness, malnutrition again. And it is his skull. She does not say his head, or it is not a face that is filled and the flesh is there. No, this is a skull. This is a horribly emaciated image, and still she is parting that hair, she is combing that hair, and there is a singing in her eyes. She begins carefully to part it. In another life, this would have been a little daily act of no consequence before his breakfast in school, and she did it like putting flowers on a tiny grave. So this image of a mother parting her child's hair, this is a very common image which you will see in every household all over the world. There is a mother sitting at a breakfast table. She's just made her child hurry, have his food, and she sits and combs his hair out so that he is ready for school. And she gives him his bag and he runs out with his tiffin, and his cheeks are glowing with health. His hair is combed and it is shiny and bright. And that is the image in every household, and that is the image that should be. And this is what the poet tells us. But here the mother has no such hope. And what have we been as the readers watching? We have been watching a child slowly perish. We have been maybe at a deathbed. The poet has not said for certain that the child has died, but we get the image, for she is combing the hair as though she is putting flowers in a tiny grave. And maybe, perhaps, this child might live on as the mother hopes, but we can be sure that so many children in these camps will perish every day, and these mothers will have to place these children whom, with such great pain, with such great happiness and love that they have had in their womb and given birth, these very mothers would have to put these children into their graves. So we can see that Chinua Achebe has been one of the strongest voices of Nigerian African literature. Chinua Achebe is a poet who used the English language, defending it and saying that this language is what he wants to use as an instrument so that his message would reach a broader audience. He his magnum opus, one of his most important works, is Things Fall Apart. Then there is Ant Hills of Savannah. Then Arrows of God, Arrow of God. So he has written a great many plays, poems, novels, which have all shown the African story or the African voice. Even though he uses the colonizer's language, it is the African story that he is telling. And he is drawn upon the experience of the colonizer. You can see a lot of hints of the Christian colonial Christianity is there. Even in the beginning of the poem, we see no Madonna and Child. While he says that even Madonna and Child cannot bring up the compassion or this utter grief and poignance that is seen in the mother in this refugee camp. So he drew a lot from his Igbo culture. He was born in Nigeria, and he comes from that Igbo culture, and the tribal or these voices of these ethnic people. That is what he shows mostly in his works. And of course, there is the influence of Christianity too. Thank you.